Hey guys, welcome to the next Blender tutorial. This is our next episode in this wonderful, awesome series that we're having here. We're doing animation. I'm sure you're having as much fun as what I did. And so remember last week we rigged this guy up. I showed you, I taught you an awful lot about bones and how to place them and also how to rig them. So I'm sure you guys have been rigging away. So this was my guy that I rigged. Take note that the reason why I'm doing a Lego man and not a full-on bendable character is because we're starting off on a basic level, and then next week we will be rigging up a character, a full-on character where the mesh will bend with it. Over here for now you'll see the arms don't bend and stuff like that. It's a bit more complex, but I mean there is a lot of fun that you can have with this guy already. So the next thing that we're going to be getting into here is basically keyframing this guy. Now I did show you guys how you can select a bone, okay, and you can insert keyframes, which I showed you guys how to do that. You can either press I over here, and then usually I do location and rotation. Over here you can even say key, insert key. There you go, insert keys. Or there was another way which you could do it, basically I think over here, or yes, I think it was over here. Anyway, but yeah, and you have to select the bones as you go along. So yes, you guys can do that, and I've showed you guys how each bone has a specific purpose, right? So something that we do when we begin animation, yes, I say we because I believe that this is how animators actually animate, because we did a online free course from Khan called khanacademy.com, and they give off free lessons and stuff like that. But they have a course called Pixel in a Box, and that's how they did the animation. And when I googled and I searched for other tutorials and that on animation, that's how a lot of the guys who do a lot of animation do it as well. And I found it very easy, so I'm gonna share that with you today. So I'm not gonna actually sit and do the different poses. I'm gonna do a shortcut. I've prepared 2 different files, and so, but I'll show you basically what I did. So the first thing that you got to do is, now remember we spoke about the different keyframes, and one of the keyframes that you get is called a constant keyframe. All right. And let me just expand this the proper way that it really works. My goodness, why is it so hard to work with this thing? Oh, I know why. Okay, I should pull down. There you go, because of the split window over here. So if I go into my graph editor, those are my keyframes right there. Now what Blender's going to do is that it's only going to show the keyframes. So you'll find by default this is turned on, which is basically only show selected. So you'll see the keyframes have disappeared, and as I select the different bones, it's only going to show those bones keyframes. Alright, so I'm going to turn that off so I can see all the keyframes. Now what you'll notice is that if I go into my preferences of Blender, in fact you won't notice, but I'm telling you what I had to do. So anyway, the reason why I told you about the constant keyframe is because we begin with a constant keyframe, and the way that we do this is, I think it's under editing. By default, you can actually set up that your keyframes, there you go, animation by default interpolation is on constant, or you can just go in and right click on the keyframe under interpolation mode. You can put it on constant. Now what that does is that at first with our animation, so what we're going to do is we're going to get my Lego guy here to do a backflip. Yep, a backflip. Pretty cool, hey? So the first thing I had to do is I had to get a reference, and I found on YouTube this cool guy over here doing a backflip in so you'll see, I think he does it first in fast motion. Right, there you go. Okay, so at first I think he does it in fast motion, and then what he does is then eventually, if you look at my over here, then eventually what it does is then I found a nice one where it happens in slow motion. And so what I was able to do is to actually look at his body, what his body position is doing, what his arms are doing, what his legs are doing. You know what, reference, let me tell you something. Every artist needs reference to start off with, because I mean, number one, I can't do a backflip, so I don't know what my body's doing. And even if I could do a backflip, I can't see what my body's doing. So you can see this is done in fast motion. All right, he did do it in fast motion at first, so it kind of gives you, so oops, okay, let's see here quickly. So wow, there you go. All right, now the first thing that I noticed was that, so I'll just give you a couple tips. You'll actually see his hip area and how the body like literally sort of rotates a lot around the hip area, and his hip area just shifts. But anyway, so I did some analyzing, especially in the slow motion part. You can actually see what his arms are doing. You can see how his body is bending down to sort of push itself out. So you can see how what the knees are doing. Now we don't have knees on the Lego Man, but I noticed how he would come down. So he would contract, and then to like a spring, you got to like push it down, and then you'll see how even his arms came down, and then he with pulling himself inward, he then like a spring, boing, exerts himself outwards. See how even the legs are out. And then what I noticed is, like I said, round his hip area. Anyway, so I studied that, and then what I did, so then the next step that you want to do is then you want to create like key poses of this flip. All right, we're not going to get into animation. We're not even going to worry about the timing of the flip. We just want to, right now, step one, focus on the key poses. All right, and so these were basically the key poses that I created. So you'll see he's standing normal, then he came down. All right, quite weird for my Lego Man because he doesn't have knees. And then the next one, he did that, and then I created those key poses based on my reference. All right, and there you go. All right, so I got my key poses right. I didn't worry about the timing yet. And this is where Constant helps you with. All right, and by the way, I'm using up and down with my keys to go across the different keyframes. All right, now something to take note of here is to make sure that if, example, in one pose, let's say from here to here, I only moved the legs. All right, it's a great idea. All right, and this is not a rule, a hard, fast rule. It's just something that I like to do, and it depends on the situation. Sometimes you don't have to do it, but if I've only changed now here, it's clear that you see the arms. It's clear that the arms are basically the same, and I've just rotated the body slightly and pulled the legs up. I didn't then just move the arms, move the position of the body, and only the bone that affects the position of the body and the arms keyframe them. All right, I press A, and then I press I. So in other words, I select all the bones and I keyframe. All right, lock and rot, location and rotation. All right, and so I continued like that. Obviously, I make sure that between the different poses, because I know that between the instant and this instant, I can see what the body's going to do. And so I perfected. I mean, this animation didn't take me long. 15, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, maybe for you. And like, don't rush it. Don't think, okay, I want to be a professional, so I'm gonna make this fast because I'm a pro. I know what I'm doing. No, perfect it. First perfect it. Make sure that you're happy. All right. In fact, something that I often like to say is, if you can convince yourself, and if you can fool yourself, convince yourself, especially if it's visual effects. If you can fool yourself, the chances are you'll probably fool everybody else. Just because you know what's involved, and often when you know what's involved, you're often looking out for the thing that you've changed. But if you fooled yourself, the chances are you've done a great job. So I got my key poses right, and I was happy with that. Then, all right, let's open the next file. Now, first of all, just to take note, this Lego Man is quite heavy on my machine. If I press play, you can see how the keyframes are lagging. So what I then had to do was because I had my armature, I was able to hide my Lego man, and you'll see when I play it now, look on the top here, those are your frames per second, and you can see they sped up. Alright, so there are my key poses, as you can see. So I know what I'm going to get. Alright, the timing's not 100%, but I've got my instances. Okay, very nice. And then the next thing that I did, see I even numbered it, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so then I'm not going to save that. The next thing that I did was then I worked on the timing, that it looks right. So again, I have to hide my Lego man because I need to get this playing back at full speed, because I need to make sure. So you can see how literally now you don't have to. So I select my armature here, and you can see that within this dope sheet here, I've got my armature, and then under that is all the other bones and stuff like that. So, and my summary. So which means that if I highlight my summary, now if I had another object in here that was animating, if I selected, if I dragged and selected my summary here, I probably would select that as well. So you'll see I've only got my armature, so I can literally, if I grab this and I press G for grab, I'm moving everything. Head, arm, left, right, everything, legs, all that stuff. So what I can do is I can select this, I can press G, and I can move it back and forth. So I can work in my time. And so what I did is, you can see I got I then got my timing right. I mean, you can see how I gave my character time to focus, because we need to get, he doesn't want to like stuff up, he wants to focus. So at first he get focused, that motion, that moment, that he's like, okay, here we go, and backflip, there you go. So I got my timing first right. Okay, and it's still in the constant keyframes. All right, and you'll find this is probably the part that's going to take equally as long as when you had created the poses, because you want to get the timing right. Maybe you don't want this part to be as quick, maybe it needs to be faster. The other thing to take note of is that this is the part where you can give weight to your character as well, because if the keyframe when he, let me just go in closer here, the keyframe when he drops, let's say from this pose here, if these keyframes are closer to each other, it means that he falls quicker, and obviously what falls quicker? Heavier things. So get your character feel right, think about his weight, think about how you want him to feel. Maybe he falls a bit off balance. I mean, you can see it takes a bit of time, and then his pose comes up, and you'll see exactly why, because I'm keeping in mind that once I've set these keyframes into linear, I know exactly what it's going to do. All right, and it's going to sort of tween between, yes, between those two. Right, so then when I'm happy with my animation, and believe me, it's a lot of fun. I know right now, I know I have to get myself into animation. I have to say, oh, come on. It's not something that I'm not a guy of great patience when it comes to stuff like this. But I find that when I'm in it, man, time can pass by. I actually enjoy what I'm doing here. Perfecting the fall, perfecting the flip, perfecting all of that stuff. Right. So then the last thing you're going to do is then, when you're happy with it, is I'm going to split my window. So let's pull this out, because I'm going to introduce my curves. Here we go, my graph editor. And what your graph editor does is so I'm going to select my bones, press A to select all. Now I can see all my different keyframes, and you can see that there's connecting lines between the different keyframes, because that's telling me what that specific item is doing. All right, it's staying at the same position. Staying at the same position. Then when it gets to this keyframe, it's changing position. And so you can see it's hard. It's very hard. Those are your constant keyframes. So now what I can do is, it's time to change it to linear to make it more realistic, right? So with my mouse in my dope sheets, I'm gonna press A. No, I'm lying. All right. Oh wait, there you go. Just took time. And even over here, I think I can do it either here, or I can do it here. I'm going to change my interpolation mode to Bezier. And what that's going to do is, you can see it's going to curve and round off our animation. And obviously we spoke about this in our last tutorial about how to bring life to your character. So once I've done that, now I can watch my animation and how it's come more to life. So watch here. And so now it's added the in-betweens, it's given like its variations, and you can still sit and you can tweak between. So if I don't want this curve as much, because maybe, you know, specifically let's see this part over here, this bend over here, all right, I don't want it to be, so let's see, what am I dealing with here? Which one is this? Is it the head? No? It's one of the bones. Wait, there, was that it there? Yeah. So maybe this one over here, I don't want the arm, I want the arm to be a bit more delayed. So then from that position to that position, you can see it starts changing immediately and it slows down to the position. I can get it to be delayed like a heck of a lot more. Watch. Now I can make it, wait, not delayed, now it's going to change a lot quicker. See? Alright, if I wanted to delay a lot more, I'm going to push that out there like that, so it delays a bit more. I can even take this guy over here, squeeze it a bit tighter so that you can see now the change is going to happen slowly, and then as it gets closer to here, it's going to happen a lot quicker. Zoom, you see that. Watch this arm here. Okay, so you can add variations within the motion of your character. Alright, so there it is. So you can go and tweak through as you want, bring your character to life. You know, the more time that you actually spend on doing this, and like I said, guys, find reference. It is your greatest help, especially if you're starting off in animation, because you need to actually learn how movement happens, how to get it more natural. It's the difference between Disney and any other guys, because Disney, you can see how they bring weight and life to your character, you know, just watching everyday life and getting a lot of reference. Alright guys, so that basically that covers off the beginning, the foundation, ground level of animation. And that next week we will look at rigging up a real life character. Alright, and believe me, I'm not at all I've done this before, but not enough times. So if you're a beginner, stick with me. If you're wanting to improve this, and if you already know what I know, well, you know, stick by, because you are going to learn. There are some stuff that I know that you don't know, and just like there's stuff that you know that I don't know, yeah, there's stuff that you can learn from me. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be rigging up a full character. We're going to get the arm bending properly, the mesh bending properly. It can get quite technical, but we're going to do this as fast as possible. Alright, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel to support what we're doing, and like this video, because I know you liked it. I know you like my Lego man over here. And by the way, once you animate him out, watch the backflip. Once you animate him out, see I'm moving at 2 frames per second. Look at that. Yeah, then that's when it becomes a lot more fun, and you can add a lot more stuff to him. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. See you guys in the next video. Cheers.